Welcome to the 2023 Road Warrior Recognition Awards. My name is Carissa Brewster. I'm the staff writer for Whitman Partners, and today we have Jennifer Adams, who is the interim clinical director. I'm sorry, interim clinical educator
Just been
at
promoted.
Torrance. Yes, at Torrance Memorial Medical Center in Torrance, California. Welcome, Jennifer.
Well, thank you. It's an honor and pleasure. Previous to being in a leadership role as a staff nurse, I did do some travel contract nursing at one point. It's a challenge to go into an organization that you're not familiar with and have to be up and running in a quick manner. So I had been in permanent roles again for several years, and I went to a conference, ARN conference, and met an interim director that introduced me to one of the members at Whitman Partners, and it just triggered a excitement and desire to start doing some interim positions in a leadership role. I think just making sure that they're aware that I'm you have to be flexible to be able to fit into a role like this, that there's definitely compromises, but um, team building, problem solving are usually big things with going into an organization. And to distinguish myself, there's the calm honesty, you know kind and patient, and that genuine person that I am, so to make sure that they understand that, but also with professionalism, and of course the knowledge background that you need to have to get into some of these roles to make sure that you are fulfilling what their desires are. I want to know, well, first, I've done a little bit of research about the organization itself, so I know, what level of acuity it has, as well as, location, recognitions, if it's a magnet organization. But also, I want to know, you know, what types of issues will I be dealing with? What responsibilities that I'm going to be having, and who would be my resources? Will I be a sole educator, which I am often in some locations, or am I part of a team? I think that helps to uh, plan before I arrive at a location, that I'm a little bit more ready than if I don't ask those questions. And you want to be prepared, best foot forward. That's a good word, traumatized. I have actually heard that from staff in one of my previous roles, where they, first day, they're like, we're not going to trust. We're going to, we've been traumatized from a previous person. And people, actually, there had been multiple interim positions. And, it's just saying, I'm here for you. And, it's understanding them, accepting what they're saying. You can't argue with them because their feelings are true and honest, and that I'm not here to, step on anybody's toes, and that they are the experts. And I recognize that, and I tell them that they are, and I want their input. I want to work with them. I want to have a partnership with them, and that's short maybe that I may be there, but I care as much the first day as I do on my last day, and that caring will never waver on what I want to contribute to that organization and the staff, because they are what makes BOR and the perioperative services function and be what they are. I think an interesting focus that I have in my role as an educator is to uh, have new staff come in, whether they may be um, experience from another organization or somebody that I'm training in a Periop 101 program, is to, integrate them into the operating room, but to make sure that they're in a safe situation, that, you manage their expectations, but also you want to have them contribute back to the operating room, that they're not just coming in from, 7 to 3 to work their 8 hours or their 12 hours and then go home again. You want them to be integrated into a role of improvement, of lifelong learning, And I think just managing those expectations at the beginning, and it helps just with that, I think, small bit of an expectation with efficiency and making sure that there's communication between interdisciplinary staff within the operating room, but also to maintain how to have them communicate so that we have a smooth transition, that we're not struggling at the moment to put things into place, that we are anticipating these things prior to something happening.
We've been actually hearing a lot of organizations are in dire need of educators. Um, what have you been hearing and seeing and kind of like experiencing as in your role as an educator?
That is, and it's interesting how that is something that I've been hearing as well just recently. And the role I'm in at the moment, they did not have an educator for about 6 months. And talking with, I think, who else knows about this are the vendors when they go into organizations. They walk in, and I remember one walked by my office and said, "Oh my gosh, there's a person in the educator's office." There hadn't been somebody here for months, and they are communicating also that they go to different organizations, and there may or may not be somebody in this role, which is surprising. And when I do go into an organization, I'm here to bridge a gap for somebody who, we'd want to have come into the role and stay on a permanent basis as an educator. So I do look at the staff that are within the organization to see if there's anyone that has that potential or that desire to be an educator. And I think, when you have that, when I see something and you tell somebody that you see a characteristic in them that shows leadership or, excellence, it's a boost to their self-esteem. And then they start looking at, well, maybe I can be an educator, maybe I can be a leader, when they may not have thought of that themselves. And then they start taking those steps. So I have supported somebody to transition from a staff member into a leadership role, which is very satisfying when you see
Um,
someone develop those skills or to
mhm.
progress in that side of their nursing role.
Yeah. Do you find there's a lot of interest in peri-op? Are there like a lot of young nurses or just nurses, coming out of school? Are they knocking down the door
They're
to get into
not.
peri-op?
No,
Mm.
I don't see them knocking down any doors. And when you do get those few, you want to make sure that I almost feel like I'm a mother hen, that I'm there to kind of like keep them all nestled underneath my wing to protect them, to make sure that they're like, not traumatized by, a surgeon or another nurse that may be a little bit not as gentle or kind, but to make sure that they have the skills and knowledge to be strong, themselves as they move forward into an independent role in the OR. One of the biggest challenges, and it's been, something that's been recognized for a long time, and really a contributing factor to errors, is communication. It's making sure that people are able to speak up and to find their voice, and whether it's to say, hey, whoa, like, we've got a missing sponge, or this case is going to be delayed. There's something going on with the patient, the family, they have more questions. I think I do see a lot of hesitation where somebody's a little bit worried about saying something, and that it's going to slow down the cases. And what we need to make sure is that we're caring for the patient safely. And I think being with um, and dressed in scrubs and being in the operating room with the staff, and to help to support them, through these decisions, it gives them the power to be able to do this, the next time on their own. I focus on the shy, quiet people that may not have found their voice yet.
So you're saying that sometimes people may notice something, but they're afraid to speak up, and then
Mhm.
it bites everybody later.
Definitely, and it does. They think that they're not going to slow things down by doing this, but it ends up slowing things down. much more significantly, that there's more time that may, cause a delay in the surgery, the flow, and the care of the patient. So it's to empower and to just kind of gently kind of steer them, or to help support them. I think I remember one leader saying, "Would you like me to be there?" And I said, "I feel, confident to be able to speak on my own, but having you there, just by my shoulder was just that, extra force and support. And if I did find myself getting into trouble where I couldn't continue, they were there, and that gave me strength." So I remember that feeling that I as well myself want to provide to other staff as well. So it's being, having that balance between, the office work and the programs and, job that I need to complete, sit in a sitting position. But I also like to get up and get out and actually see people working and interacting with each other. And it gives me a chance to assess, where some of the needs may be for education too. That's a good one. We definitely are tracking that here. And the staff, again, it's communication, with the team, but also finding that the nurses and the techs will have everything ready. They're super organized, and then they'll turn around and they'll go like, "Well, the surgeon hasn't arrived yet. The surgeon hasn't completed their history and physical." So to make sure that they don't get discouraged, of course, with on-time starts, is to say, like, to recognize. You always have to recognize that they've done a good job and to continue doing what they're doing, because that part is also, definitely that will collect the data from, who is the person that is delaying that on-time start. That, we have to make sure that we understand their needs. What is it? A piece of equipment? Is it instruments from SPD? Or is it the surgeon that just may not be here and we've got everything ready and waiting? I think it's making sure that whatever is ordered for the patient before they even get to the hospital, when there's those pre-testing and pre-op calls, that you recognize not only, what tests that they may have done, what case they're coming in for, but also what may be up on the personal side, something that may hinder them actually getting here. Do they need childcare? Do they need transportation? Who, if it's somebody underage, who is the legal guardian that will be accompanying them that day? Are they able to? Because I've seen, children come in with an aunt or a grandmother that were not able to legally sign a consent. And of course, that will delay surgery. That will actually cancel the surgery completely if we can't get legal consent.
Yeah, so it sounds like communication,
Hmm.
organization with the surgical care coordination. It sounds like it comes back to that, having
Hmm.
all your I's dotted and your T's crossed beforehand. Um,
Definitely. I think maintaining a working staff level, we're seeing a shortage of anesthesiologists as well. So if we don't have providers, for our cases, that is right now we've got 75% anesthesia providers in this facility where I am now, and that is directly affecting our volume.
I did not know that there was a shortage of anesthesiologists.
Yeah,
Wow.
we seem to have that at the moment, and to make sure that we, the staff are worried that some of them are going to be furloughed or let go. I mean, we have some contract nurses. We want to make sure that, if they're here, that we maintain their hours, and the full-time staff as well. So it's a concern for some people to make sure. But what we do is we make sure that we take that opportunity to train people so that they have broader, diversified skills. And cleaning up, as what I like to call it, is, preference cards and organizing, and maybe a room literally needs to be cleaned up. That that labeling, where we put equipment so that when we put something away, it is in the spot where we know where it is that we can actually go back for it. That is something that causes some delays when things are misplaced or left where they're not supposed to be. Maintaining a file, I think one of the best ways to be able to pass on that information. I think that's been the challenge. Definitely, having something organized, printed. Uh, it's hard to email or because everything's so private to pass something on to the next person. But what I like to do is to have a shared folder with one of the other leaders in the organization that leader can then share to the new person coming in. There's a list of um, meetings, what we need for onboarding for new hires, everything like that. So it's not lost, which I know when I come into a place, a lot of those things are lost. So then I want to make sure that this is something that's open and shared with the next person coming in if I don't get to see them, which sometimes I don't.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of
Hmm.
unfortunate if you don't get to see them. When you do have the opportunity to see them, what kind of conversations do you have?
That's the best case scenario. And I do, I feel like I've come full circle, that I am not leaving with a job, half finished. So I make sure that they are aware of, what their role is going to be, where to find their resources, who they're going to be working with, who the key players are, somebody that is a go-to person, a champion that they can ask questions to. It's an interesting role to come into because most educators, and I was at the special assembly at AORN this year with the educators, and it's a role that most people go into that there is no orientation for. So and I liken it to being a spy. You go in and you're searching through cabinets, you're looking through things and gaining information, and it's a fun. I take it as a challenge, and I do enjoy it, but I do also recognize that it is a frustration, and I do not want somebody coming into an organization being frustrated, and I do want someone feeling valued. And if you can value that person through sharing, what you went through to find information and share that information with them, I think that's extremely valuable.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today, taking some time out of your busy day. It was awesome, a great conversation.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.